So what is up, guys? Souter the Savage back, and today I'm here with another episode of Souter Stories. Tonight I'm going to be telling you about the time I met Drew Hutchison down in Florida. So let's get this video started. So to start off, if you may not know who Drew Hutchison is, so I'm going to tell you. He used to pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays. I really loved him. A lot of people didn't like him as much as I did. Eventually he got traded to the Phillies, then the Pirates. Then he just pitched for the Texas Rangers recently. So, gross, because I hate the Rangers. So, that's all you need to know about Drew Hutchison. So, what happened is, at this point, my family was down in Clearwater, Florida. We were there from March 7th to the 16th. So, yeah, we were there for about 9 days. And, we had left just me, my mom, my sister, on the 7th. My daddy eventually came down on the 12th, but he almost didn't make it in because of all the flights were getting delayed, then they were getting canceled because of the weather. My dad was lucky enough because he apparently was the last flight to get out of Toronto because eventually they canceled everything else. So yeah. And it wasn't just my family down there. I was also with another family, the Richies, who we're really good friends with. They live in Ottawa. We live in Toronto. We were able to come up with an agreement where we could all spend a week together in a beach house because on the Saturday, the 13th, we actually went off to a hotel closer to the airport that we were going to depart at. Because eventually they were going to depart pretty soon after we were going to depart. So that's all about what it went down. So then eventually, I saw 4 spring training games during that time. I actually got to see, one of them I saw was actually Toronto Blue Jays versus the Canadian junior team, which was a pretty fun game. I may tell a separate story about that because it's actually pretty in-depth, but for this one, we're just going to focus on Drew Hutchison. So, it was the 12th, on the Friday, about a week after I got to Florida, and we were down, everyone was at a game. It was Red Sox Blue Jays, and Drew Hutchison was on the mound. Eventually, in the 3rd inning, I actually got to change up third base, which was a lot of fun. And then eventually, Drew Hutchison went 4 2/3, gave up 1 run, pitched really well. Jays lost 3-1 because we don't know how to generate offense when we have really good pitching that gives up minimal runs, like Ryan Borucki. Now, what had happened was, in spring training, you're not supposed to, a starter doesn't go that long. Well, at least in the beginning, usually you'll get 1, if you're lucky, maybe 2, but you're not really going to go over 2 in spring training, at least at the beginning. Because around the end, in the middle, you're going to maybe start seeing a little more, and around the end, the maximum you could probably pitch is maybe 6. I've never seen anyone go over 6 in spring training, but that's it. So, eventually we were driving home, and I was just saying, man, Drew Hutchison did so well. And, everyone had agreed because he did so well, except the Blue Jays flopped. And it was just frustrating. As we were driving back through the causeway because our beach house was in Clearwater, and the stadium was in Dunedin, so we had to take a causeway, which is to me like a highway or a bridge over water. And, yeah, so eventually we got back to Clearwater, which is not Blue Jays territory. It's Phillies territory because of Spectrum Field, which is home of the Philadelphia Phillies for spring training. So eventually we went to a restaurant down in Clearwater. I forget what it was called or where it was. All that I know is it was in Clearwater. It was kind of late at night. So eventually me and Cameron, one of the kids from the Richies, we were just playing darts together, and there was this one guy that walked by who seemed kind of hype. He saw me yeah, let's do this for some reason. I don't know why. But we just go yeah! And as he went to the bathroom, I'm just jeez, he looks really familiar. Just I thought he did look like Drew Hutchison. And I thought maybe this could be it. Maybe I'm spot on. But I'm I can't guarantee it. So I decided maybe he'll walk out of the washroom, I'll ask, or I can go in and ask. I decided to wait because if I went in and asked, that'd be kind of creepy. So he came out and I'm man, you look really familiar. He's yeah. He's you look like Drew Hutchison. And he said, yes, you got me. I'm Drew Hutchison. I'm I was freaking out. I'm I can't believe I guessed it. So eventually I ran into my mom's bag because I had my baseball and a Sharpie because I wanted him to sign it. because at that time I already had 3 autographs by Moises Sierra, Munenori Kawasaki, and I think Brett Cecil. I don't know. So then eventually I run in, I'm like, she's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, Drew Hutchison's right there, and like, everyone's like, oh my god, they were so impressed. They were just like, dude, you pitched so well today. So eventually I got it signed, and then he actually played 2 rounds of darts against me. Well, of course he won, because at that time I was a lot shorter and a lot less accurate, and he's a grown man who has a clear advantage over me. But now, I used to kind of play darts regularly. I used to go out with my dad. We would sometimes play some darts. We'd play 301. We would never play 501, because we're not good enough. It would just take way too long. But yeah, that is pretty much the story, and eventually 2 days later, I flew back to Toronto. It was really it really sucked, because when I got back, it was freezing. But then about a month later in April, I actually got a Drew Hutchison jersey, just because that event was so surreal. I was so happy about it. And that's going to wrap it up for today's story. Thank you all for watching. If you want to see more story time, take a second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment down below if you want to see more videos like this. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Snapchat @SouterTheSavage. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.